Welcome to Zoo Tours, the channel that takes you on a virtual field trip to the zoo. And if you're new, and that sounds pretty good to you, then I really recommend you hit those like, sub, and bell buttons to officially join our tour group. Now that everyone's here, welcome back for our third tour of SeaWorld Orlando. If you haven't already, do yourself a favor and please go check out the first two that extensively covers the Manatee Aquarium, Pelican Preserve, the Stingray Lagoon Touch Tank, the Dolphin Cove, and the Dolphin Nursery. When I was walking around my last visit, I noticed something. Like every animal that plays a part in the ecosystem, everyone at SeaWorld sort of plays their own role. It does sound weird, but hear me out. You have the headliners and the icons, the acrobats, the comedians, both animal and human. And then you have the patient at the Turtle Trek. Some people know it as one of SeaWorld's newer things. Some know it as one of their oldest. If you say it's old, you're right. Turtle Trek opened in 1993 as Manatees, the last generation, with a question mark at the end of it. More than a decade later, it was changed to the Manatee Rescue, and by 2012, the turtles moved in from what is now called the Pelican Preserve. This episode will be more than just a tour of an exhibit. We'll meet individual animals and hear their life stories and how SeaWorld gave them a second chance. I want you all to stay to the end for not only that trivia question, but for a second tour at one of SeaWorld's hidden gems. And before we begin, I have to give a shout out to a familiar face, my good-hearted zoo friend, Johnny, who kindly covered my admission and single-handedly saved this video with a bunch of his own footage and info. So to thank him, please go follow his Instagram and compliment his work as much as you can. If you're going from attraction to attraction like we are, then you'd be saying goodbye to the dolphins at the Cove's underwater viewing, leaving the Key West section and saying hello to an entrance like no other. The line is sort of designed like a ride queue, and you'll see why later. And while you wait, you can read just a little bit of, well, again, you'll see later. Everything officially starts under the surface. The turtle-named attraction is commenced with SeaWorld's lettuce-fed sea steaks, the original grazers of the area when it was America's largest manatee complex. Looks a little small to have that title, but if you move over to the right, you'll see it's connected to a space that's 3 times its size and stocked with freshwater black pacus, ripsaw catfish, and several kinds of gars. The other difference between this and the smaller tank, I think you never want to hear that word from your tour guide, but come on, I'm working for free. As I was told, the small one is for newcomers, while this is for more permanent residents or ones getting ready for release. The most famous of them all is named Sarah. She came to SeaWorld in 1986 after her mother passed away from a boat strike. While this 3,000-pound wonder never really had a mother, her purpose in life is to act as a mom to all of the other rescued orphans. When you're done getting a face full of cow, the back of the room allows guests to see how manatees eat. But first you have to press your palm against the glass. Or you can push a bunch of buttons and learn all of the different sirenians of the world, like the dugong, the more familiar West Indian manatee, and where the now extinct Steller sea cow used to live. A fate that this Florida subspecies faces, but more on that when we go upstairs. The third room holds the last of the Trek's 300,000 gallons, a faux saltwater coral reef full of hundreds of tropical fish and sea turtles, and it literally glows. The turtles stole the attraction's name, so they might as well shine the brightest. Like the manatee space, this is a rehabilitation/rescue refuge. I saw 2 greens. This is Whitney. Honestly, not sure what happened to her. Like directions, I'm always too stubborn to ask a docent about animals' backstories. Hopefully someone in the comments will be able to tell us. The other is Stitch, only just slightly the easiest to recognize. They suspect a shark got that arm, and she was found drifting aimlessly in the ocean. Despite this, I read that she was actually deemed releasable. That didn't go so well. So Stitch was found underweight, and SeaWorld got another call, and Stitch got another chance at life. Sounds kinda similar to loggerhead Caden's backstory. Caden is spelled like this. She doesn't have an apparent scratch on her, but someone was found stranded and rescued by the Georgia Sea Turtle Center. They spent months rehabilitating and releasing her over and over, but she either got stuck in a sandbar, had intestinal blockage, or stranded herself again. After a third try, wildlife officials decided it'd be best if she lived here. Isabel, on the left, didn't really show up much, but when she did, we could see her tattered front flippers caused by an entanglement accident. And finally, we have Grandma. I read she was only in her 20s when this opened. Crush taught us that's not old for a sea turtle, so you might be asking, why? Well, look at her mouth. There's barely anything there. Grandma is missing most of her lower jaw and actually needs to be palm-fed. I've heard several stories involving fishing lines and hooks that may have caused this, but even SeaWorld posted they ultimately don't 100% know what happened. Regardless, she and the rest of her friends at the retirement home are well taken care of. By the way, Turtle Trek doesn't really refer to them. All of this leads up to the 360 domed theater, where you follow the story of the sea turtle, Naya, from her hatching, her life obstacles, and her journey through the ocean depths over a 20-year period based on a real-life route that a real-life sea turtle would follow. Those interested in seeing this experience someday, it's actually been closed the past couple years, but there still are several links in the description for the show. While it may seem like we're at the end of our journey, it's really only halfway over. You're then invited to see life outside and above the surface. The top floor is the place to learn all about SeaWorld's sea turtle rescue efforts. You're reintroduced to the turtles from another angle, and you'll notice that there's much more than what's shown below. The tank is enclosed with a shoreline, though I don't think they actually even go up here. The land belongs to this leatherback sea turtle, and this is the closest the species will ever make it on the channel, because I'm pretty sure we'll never see a real one. The shore mixes in really well with the forest backdrop that encloses these manatee-infested waters. It's like actually watching them in a real-life lagoon. A lagoon filled with hundreds of lettuce heads and a bunch of mysterious mouths appearing to pop out of nowhere. This exhibit has gone through a lot of changes over the years, but in 2016, guests were welcomed behind the scenes without actually having to sign up to go behind the scenes. Sadly, it was closed on my second visit. Fortunately, it was open on my first. This is just 2%, I actually measured it out, of Orlando's rescue facility, dedicated to even more injured sea cows. Some were in worse conditions than others. It's really a bittersweet way to see the hard truth of what they go through. You don't just get to learn all of the problems that they face in the wild, you get to literally see them right in front of your very eyes. The past couple of years have been really rough for them. Nearly 1,500 Florida manatees have passed away from unnatural causes between the start of 2021 to this video's release. SeaWorld took in so many that they had to expand their rehab tanks. So it's an understatement to say SeaWorld has helped thousands and thousands of animals. This shot was taken in 2021, and this not even a year later. According to their site, they've helped nearly 800 manatees, nearly 3,000 sea turtles, 8,000 pinnipeds, 25,000 birds, and 500 cetaceans, ones that are as small as a baby dolphin to something as large as a gray whale. Before you leave this turtle trek, I really suggest that you take a family photo with this statue to create a lasting memory like we did, even if you can't get as close to it as you once could. When you do leave, right behind all this is another aquatic reptile, a large congregation of juvenile alligators. I think, there's that word again, they were tacked on at the same time as the manatees. Doesn't matter when they came around, I think it's really cool to have three large species iconic to Florida right next to each other. It only took nearly a year for us to complete, but that was the last of SeaWorld's Sea of Shallows region. So we'll be moving on to the quick but large Sea of Legends, home to Journey to Atlantis, a water coaster shared by all three major parks. If you want to know more and get a taste of what it's like to ride it, there are several POVs in the description. Because we're not here to ride, we are here for its gift shop, which is connected to the Jewel of the Sea Aquarium, a marbled rotunda with a few traditional tanks. To start us off, comb jellies, considered one of the most alien-like creatures in the sea. Rather than a pulse, comb jellies use hundreds of tiny plates or combs to paddle through the water. Next to them is a small coral reef full of 6 kinds of living coral that helps make this as vibrant as the rest of the building. Next, what I believe is some species of snapper, maybe big eye, maybe yellowfin. You help me decide. Tank 4 is beautifully furnished with broken pottery, tiles, pompanos, spadefish, flagtails, a yellow stingray that was kind enough to show us how they burrow in the sand, and a really mouthy green moray eel. And no aquarium, big or small, is really ever complete without its moon jellies. When I said Atlantis has traditional tanks, I kinda take that back. The central display not only lets you walk on the surface so you can follow the school's motions, but this pool is reflected on the ceiling, making Atlantis definitely worth a visit even without having to get drenched first. And that does it for this extensive episode. The next time we're in SeaWorld Orlando, we'll be getting a double dose of the Dolphin Adventures presentation in the bone-chilling, teeth-chattering, jaw-dropping Thank you for liking and thank you for subscribing. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can go to my gift shop for all new zoo gear that's now 20% off. Just be sure to use the promo code ZOO123 at the checkout. With that, see if you can answer this episode's trivia question. Be sure to support your local zoo and aquarium. And thank you all for watching.